Hello, it's ejfox. It's a beautiful day in June, and I just read this amazing essay about barefoot developers, home cook software and barefoot developers, and it's by Maggie Appleton. She talks about a few really interesting concepts. This idea of like local software, right? So this is software that is small and sort of made for the people around you immediately, which is different from other software. Like I've worked at big companies where the goal is to have millions of users, right? And when you build for millions of users, there's all sorts of things that you might want to do that you can't necessarily do because you're trying to reach a mass audience. And when you're just making it for the people immediately around you, you can kind of just directly ask them what they want. And this ties into owning your own data, right? It's really frustrating to me to watch Twitter sort of crumble after it was bought by a billionaire. I spend so much time on Instagram, which is a feed that I have no control over. Facebook has tons of issues with consent. Like that app is like constantly like playing me reels and turning the audio on when I don't want it. And like there's no API that I can access to get my data out in a better way. And Arena is like all the opposite of that. I really love Arena. I've been using it, I guess, for like over 5 years now. And basically, there's a few things that make it really fun and easy to use. One is that I have a Safari extension that makes it easy to save things to Arena. So if I search for something like, maybe I'll search for like Lino Cut, right? So I'm looking at some Lino Cut ideas. And then what I have is a Lino Cut channel already in Arena. So if I go to my index, search for Lino, print Lino inspiration, right? So this is a bunch of stuff I've already collected, and I can just go in, and I like this fox. It's cheesy. It's the second result on Google for Lino Cut, but I like it. And you can just drag it in, and it adds it as a block for you, right? So now I have all of, like a big thread of inspiration, visual thinking, all linked together in one place, where I can then go back and refer to it. And so, I have 5 years of different threads of thought gathered in Arena. But the really cool thing is that I can take my data out because Arena has a really nice API that can be used, right? So I can go build my own application, right? I can build my own local software for myself and my community where I take my Arena data out because they have such a good interface. They also have an iPhone app that's really easy to use. There's a way that you can add it to your share sheet. So like any image, you can sort of go click on it and do add to Arena and add it to the right channel. So it's a really great input mechanism. And then you can also make your own output mechanisms. And that's what I want to explore today. I want to figure out the Arena API. And what that means is getting channels, getting blocks. But more importantly, I want to do a little sketch of what I want, right? Like I want, user, maybe just a flat list first. And then if you click one of these, it brings you to a channel where I want all of the blocks to be little draggable cards that we can move around anywhere we want. So the first thing we need, obviously, is our list of channels. And so I have a little template. Let's go into code. Oh, the hardest part of every project is coming up with a name, because you got to come up with this. It's like the first thing you have to do. I want to call it like draggable. We'll call it like Arena cards. Get in our repo. This is the script I make, opens code for me and like downloads everything, makes my life super easy. And let's start making our changes. So the one thing that we're going to want is to make a new API route. So we can go to server API. I have a little example weather API in here. We can close this terminal. But we're going to want to make a new one sort of based on this. So we can copy this, and we're just going to call it Arena channels.post.ts. This is what an individual channel looks like. So I guess we could just start with this one. Like I already know my ID because it came from here. So I'll just make a little comment with it and we can pull it out. So we'll do user ID is, where is it? Here. So what we want to do is just make it so that our index calls this arena channels endpoint. And we already have an example of calling an endpoint in the template. So we can instead call, I already forgot what it's called, arena channels. We're not going to have a body because we just pulled that out. And we don't need any of the split pane stuff right now. So I'm just going to comment that out. And let's just get a pre with data. It's not weather data anymore. It is simply our data. All right, so we're posting to it. After we can just open it up in another, right? So we post to it. Our ID is hard coded. It's going to hit this arena API, and then we'll see the JSON back in this pre. Gosh, that took forever to load, but it worked. Check this out. So it made the request, and we're actually getting the response back that we expected. Or the hard-coded. Okay, so one thing that we can do is we can move this user ID over into our request. So we'll do user ID, exactly, and then instead of doing this like this, I already wrote that code before. Get it out. Get all this. We need this again. We don't really need an API key right now, but I'm going to leave that for a second. And we don't need this example since we're pulling it in properly. We can just see it on the page. So this is arena channels, but it's just getting the user. So let's look at how we get channels. And I think this is where things are going to start to get a little bit complicated. Is if you go to users ID/channels, it says unauthorized. Right? So now we need to go and look at authentication. How to get an access token. Access tokens allow apps to make requests to Arena on behalf of the user. Each access token is unique to the user and application ID. So we're going to need to make a little requesting authorization page. And then we get our access token, which also means I need to create an application. What are we calling this? We're calling it Arena Cards. 1,000, and then maybe taking control of my own data. All right, so now we have our UID and our secret. And let's just put this in the env file. It's Arena UID. And then we have Arena secret. So I'm going to help the robot out by dropping the documentation here. And then we'll make some functions. So function redirect to Arena auth. There's a navigate to function that we can use. We'll make an auth URL. I'm going to close this. This. And this is going to be a template. And then you have to do external, because it is external. So that's going to send you to the auth URL and redirect us back here. And then we would need to, when we get sent back, code is in the query params. So we can do code equals use route query, I'm pretty sure, on our way to an access token. I don't know what they call it. So this is an authorization token, and then we want an access token. So this is auth token, right? We need to watch if there is an auth token. Access token, right? So this should just come back with stuff, except one thing that we're adding that's new is we have an access token. See, it says it's get and it requires no authentication, but if you go to it, it says unauthorized invalid credentials. But it does say it's get, so we don't have to convert it. So let's just try it like this. Something like that. Let's see how we're ending up. If I refresh, almost done compiling. Okay, so here's some buttons. So authorize sends us to sign in. Need my arena password. Ooh, due to unknown client. No client authorization. So we didn't send the client ID, it doesn't seem like. We're gonna need to plummet through from the ENV. So we have runtime config, and we'll do arena client ID, arena client secret, and now we can get them is runtime config.public, right? And instead of this is public runtime config. When the app starts, it puts the secret into public. And then we're going to need to make that change here too. So that'll be public runtime config. All right. All right, while it's working on that, let's talk about how this thing is actually working. Right? It's a little complicated. So the first thing we do is we redirect, right? We redirect to the arena auth. User signs in, and then it sends them back to our application with an auth token. Now that we have an auth token, we can make yet another request for an access token. So we redirect again. So our index, we have a little authorize button. We send them to the arena auth, they sign in, it sends them back with an auth token. We redirect again, right? We get our auth token and our access token, and then I believe with the access token, so now we can make authorized requests. That's the plan. Let's see if it works. So we have our nice little authorize button. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. So I'm gonna click authorize. Sweet, amazing. And now we know what the screen looks like. So it looks a bit like this. So it looks like that. So it sends you to the screen. Do you want to authorize Arena cards to use your account? And we say yes, and hopefully it sends us back. Ooh. Interesting. Oh, because it's not HTTPS. So I think I have make cert. So we'll just sort of follow the instructions. So we'll make cert. Oh, I don't have it. Bah. I'm sure that it's, yeah, brew, install, make cert. I'm sure this will take forever. So the issue we're dealing with now is that when Arena sends the user back, it needs to be HTTPS. So that's what we're doing now. And then we need to change Nuxt dev. And we can do that here. Package JSON. This is the old one. This is the new one. And I just had an idea, which is that we should maybe use local storage for this auth token. This token, use local storage. Yeah, exactly. Okay, there we go. So now we can authorize. I do authorize, send me back. Look, it's got the HTTPS now, very exciting. Okay, great, so now we're on our second step where we request our access token. Ooh, we got a 500, at least it's not nothing. What's our data look like? It looks terrible. I don't want to look in there. We have our client ID, our client secret. I don't think code is the right thing to send. Requesting the access token. That's the step we're on now. So we do client ID, client secret. I need the code. Great, and the response should be the JSON, but it's not. But it's not. What does the request look like? Like, what did we get back? Where is it? What API? This one. What did we get back? This is nothing. Bunch of nothing. Okay, maybe this is just formatted wrong. Maybe we should use this fetch instead. Fetch everybody loves. So let's stop and start it, even though it takes 10 years. Look at the thunderstorm right now. It's 80 degrees and thunderstorm. Waiting for things to work. 400, that's a better error. We prefer that error. Well, of course, that's not going to work. What's the payload look like? Useless. Okay, so why is this a bad request? I think there's a way for like to add params. Is that right? Yeah, you do query. So it's not body, it's query. And I don't know if we need the headers right now. Let's just try the post request. All right, give it a shot. Still 400. Doesn't that look exactly like what their example says? You know what I mean? Like, post with the client ID and the client, where is it? Token, client ID, right? Got my client's secret. Grant type. How come I don't have code and code? Body.auth token. Do I not parse it out? I'm so dumb. Auth token. Well, body. Right? I guess I already sort of did it here. Body.auth token, so I don't need to do it. I'll just do it anyway, and then let's go back to index. And when I request access token, it's not code, right? It's auth token. Yeah, auth token. Okay, so now we're properly sending the auth token, which should make a big difference. Still a bad request. Well, let's look at it. So https dev.arena/oauth/token. We got our client ID. Great. We got our client secret. Great. And we got code. Oh, there should be .value, I'm pretty sure. I'm getting closer. Getting closer every day. Give me my access token. It's still 400. Why? Okay. Great. We got our client ID. Got our client secret. Look, even our code looks like a code. Return code. The grant type is authorization. So let's do it again. Let's do it all from the start one more time. Right? We authorize, double authorize. Now we got our code. Now with our code, we request our access token. And we get our access token back. Sick. Sick. Okay, so now I should be able to do API Arena channels. And we should use the user ID. Exactly. Where does user ID come from? Did I just hard code it somewhere? Yeah, I think that's mine. So it's just hard coded in that click. So let's see what happens if we do get user channels. 401 unauthorized. Well, I didn't really do the whole flow now, did I? So let's request an access token. All right, you got to do the whole flow at once, it seems like. All right, so we authorize, double authorize, request access token, get it back. So now given that, I do get user channels. Oh, and this needs to be a fetch too. But we got some channels back. Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Get me them channels. Great, look, we have a bunch of channels. Fuck yeah. So we've made it through like a pretty significant part of what the original plan was, right? Because we want to get info about a user. We did the user auth, right? That was hard and annoying. We just did the user auth. We got our channel list. And now we need to get the blocks in the channel. And then displaying them will come next. And Now that we have everything kind of showing up, what we can do is show the title of these instead of the raw JSON. Great. Now we have a list of, I guess it's 20, it's my 20 most recent channels. And I see my teapots channel is missing an emoji, which we should fix. Now, can I click on teapots? Hey, look, it took me to my teapots page. So now I can fix its title. It's like a project, so we give it a little project emoji. Put our emoji in the right place. So now what we want to do is get our blocks for each channel, and I think that will be a simpler script. So we have channels now. We'll make a new API called are.na blocks, right? We'll get user ID, auth token, and also channel ID. And then let's look at what the URL is supposed to look like. Blocks or channel. Yeah, you get channel slug. Great. And so we should do channel slug instead. So this is going to be our new URL, except instead of that kind of slug, it'll be our kind of slug. I don't think we need any of this. So I think it's actually, we should probably a good opportunity to make a new route. So right now we have our index, and next we might want to do, maybe not a new page, but a new folder. And this will be channel, right? And then what we can do is slug for the name of it. I think you can do this. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. There we go. Okay, so now we have our slug. Magical. Beautiful. And what we're going to do is a similar thing to what we did on the index with our fetches. Like we can probably just steal one of these. Data equal use async data. So this is like a wrapper that we can do, and then we can have this use fetch. We should get a real slug, and we should make our view go to that. So we have this Nuxt link that goes here. Let's make another one that's green called view internal, and it'll just be slash channel slash the slug. So now if I hit view internal, see, there we go, channel slash creations. Is that how I don't think they even fetch the response .json. I think they just do return response. Hey, there we go. That is every block in my channel, I think. So we can do div for block in data. And a little exactly robot knows what's good. Oh, but again, data's funky. So, okay, got it. So it's not the raw blocks, but this would be data.contents. And then this would be like an H2, data.title, and then maybe something like metadata. And then can we get the little images to show up? Thanks for moving fast now. Close editor group. All right, things are about to get really fun, so I think it's time to take a break and do a short recap, right? So our original plan was to get info about the user, get their channels, and get all the blocks in a channel, and we just did all of this. We're feeling great. So let's go back to our other diagram. This is our auth flow that we made, right? The user comes in, they authorizes, we get their token. Now that we have their token, we get their access token, and now we can read and write from their account, which will come in handy later. And I think our next plan is to make a little channel page. So this will be our channel page. And it'll just have like some metadata. Something like that, and then just have a whole bunch. This is just a start, right? Just have a whole bunch of blocks, right? And then the next step that I want, we're going backwards in time, is I want to have all the blocks, but I want them to be like draggable. So maybe you can overlap some, right? And some are behind, and some are in front. Others are behind. You can have little groupings, you know what I mean? And this is like the draggable. And that's especially fun for me because I use my iPad a lot, as you can tell. And I like the use draggable example, right? You can just move components around the page super easily, right? I wish it was multi-touch, but I'm imagining moving my arena cards around just as easily as I do this. Oops, wrong one. Right? And you can like move them around wherever you want. Something like that. You know what I mean? So let's see if we can make that happen. Right now, we're just showing little pre's for the blocks, but we can make a component for it. And we'll call it draggable block. And then I was looking last night for some resources on how to absolute position a draggable element. I think I found it somewhere last night. Yeah, great. You give it like a container element. So we'll try and do something like this, I think. So I'm gonna have a channel, and we'll call this the ref. It can be block parent. I mean, they're not the most original names. And then we want like a use draggable for each one. Well, it's in the v4. Now we have all our blocks. We can do actually block index. Right, and now we can see all 20 of our blocks. But the first thing I want to do is make them like draggable. So the reason we're doing it like this is because you have to overwrite the value for the reactivity to work. So we're basically saying the block, the draggable with this value has this style, and then make a function to get the style for a particular draggable based on index, and get style index. Alright, so we have some card looking things showing up, but they're not actually draggable, it doesn't seem like. Oh, there we go. That's sort of almost working. Oh yeah, look at that. Got our draggable card, super fun. And then we need to set like user select none or something. Yeah, much better. Much better. And now, instead of showing the index, which is super boring, it would be cool if get draggable style would also add background image block. Setting the background color. Right? And this should... Oh yeah, great, amazing. And we need to set the background set. Yeah, exactly. Look at that. It's a bunch of things I made. All in a big stack. There's a couple changes I would make, is like figure out the Z index for each of them. Okay, so now it's a little better. Now when you like go over it, it overlaps. You don't necessarily want that. So we don't want the mouse over, we want the double click. You know what? When we put them on the page, we should like arrange them kind of randomly. It's a good fun start. Maybe we can make them a little smaller. Good start. There's a couple things I want to do. I would like to use local storage for their positions. There we go. All right, so now when we reload, let's put them in a little shape. And then you could also give them some like animations, animate. Alright, so now we've got our cards. It'd be nice if on our slug page we linked back to... So... I'm gonna mark that as a success, for sure. Getting closer to spatial awareness. Spatial organization. All of my blocks. Still raining. We're accumulating gigabytes and gigabytes of video working on this, but I think we're nearly done. If I were a different person, if I were built slightly different, then I would claim victory at this juncture, because we do have movable cards that you can move all around, which is dope. There's two things that I want to do super quickly. And for this, I will recruit the robot. So I've been really enjoying talking to Claude lately through the console, and I have a fun little custom prompt for him. Alright, let's give that a shot. Okay. That's kind of fun, but not exactly what I meant. Alright, I might be confusing it. I just threw a bunch of ideas out there, but let's give it a shot. Alright, so I did a bunch of really cool stuff. If it would stop writing, I could copy it in. Let's see how this goes. Whoa. Okay, cool. Super cool. And then you can like customize the size. Dude, that's pretty sick, honestly. That's pretty sick. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, for real. Okay, cool. That works the way you would expect it to. That's kind of sick. I like this a lot. There's something cool about this. This one's a little big. I guess we could change it from cover to contain. It's kind of cool and interesting. Yeah, something feels good about this, like sorting through a table. The table will work. Wish there's a little bit more screen space, I think. Cool, this is cool. So now you can like drag them down the page if you want. Just put all the like floral ones together. Kind of leads into the faces a little bit. Alright, well that was a lot of fun. Alright, so at the beginning of the session, we started out with this concept of having all of our arena blocks in a place where we can kind of like drag them around and arrange them spatially and like try and make sense of them that way. And so what we've ended up with, I'm pretty proud of. It's pretty cool. So we can get a list of all of the blocks that I have, or all the channels that I have, right? And then if you click in, you can see all of the blocks in that channel, and we actually store their positions. So if I go back to my Lino inspiration, it actually stays in the position that I left it, which I think is pretty cool. I lost it. I think they lost their sizes. But yeah, I like this idea of like arranging the things spatially and coming back to them. Where like the application like gaining, you know, kind of changing over time. And maybe if I let my friends like come in and rearrange it, that might be cool. But yeah. I mean, I think it turned out pretty sick. So, you know, it only took 3 hours. It's not a big deal. I'll probably edit it down to something nice.